Moving along now, here we'll look at the source monitor in more detail than the casual glances we've had so far in this course. As a working definition, the source monitor, this panel at the top left as we know, well, this allows for assessment, shall we say, of any imported assets that we bring into our project prior to us adding them to our timeline and into a sequence. I'm going to look at this in terms of a video file in a moment, but it can just as easily be used with an audio file on its own. If we did use an audio file, we'd see a waveform display of the audio in the source monitor. Anyway, as you can see, the source monitor is empty at present. Clicking here reveals, as expected, a list of no files. So let's add a video file to the source monitor. In our last tutorial, we saw how to double-click a file to open in the source monitor. Alternatively, you can left-click on a file in the project panel down here and drag it up onto the source monitor. As a result, it fills the source monitor preview area. Well, that's only because here it is set to fit. This means the clip's dimensions will be made to fit inside the available area, and this will respond and adjust to the footprint size on our screen. If you want this to be a specific percentage value, click here and change to one of these percentage options. You could choose 10%, that's quite small, or 25%, or even 100%, or whatever. I prefer to work like this, so I'll revert back to fit. And therefore, my next stage, once I've assessed the clip, possibly just visually, without editing it, if I want to remove it from the source monitor, click here and choose the top option, Close. Now I'll open two video files up here, solely to show you you're not restricted to just one. You can have quite a number here, and you can flick between them all. So I'll double click both of these files to open them, and then now I can choose to close individually, or by choosing close all, I can choose to close collectively. I'll do that in a moment. First, if I want to vacillate between the two files, I can do it by choosing appropriately from the two file names listed here. Okay? Now, with Beach 2 selected, I can choose to just close this file by selecting here. I'm actually going to leave Beach 1 in place because I want to look at the source monitor options with this file open. So what do we see? Well, you'll see a timecode indicator here that reflects the CTI position. It's at the start at the moment, that's why it says 0. But if I move the CTI to here, it tells me we're now at 3 seconds and 18 frames in, just over 3.5 seconds. If I want to manually scrub the CTI, I can left-click on the timecode and drag back and forth. Okay, now running underneath are the playback controls and edit buttons. Roll over them to see a tooltip of what they are if you're unsure, but I think they're fairly self-explanatory. Okay, now the reasoning or the principle behind the source monitor is to be able to ascertain good elements of a video clip and just use that section on our timeline. You can start the process, for example, by saying the start of the clip is OK up to around 3 seconds in. So I would place my CTI there and then click this button to determine the out point of our clip. We've now stated 0 seconds, i.e. the beginning, up to 3 seconds is OK to use. You can adjust this, it's not set in stone. Just move your CTI out of the way for the moment and then left click on the out point there. You'll see the grey area indicates the area that we want to use. So left click and drag the out point to a new position. So now this good or grey area is from 0 seconds to here, around about 6 seconds along the timeline, the source monitor timeline. This isn't part of our project yet. Now at present, the CTI is resting at just under 2 seconds in. There it is. But to quickly move it to the end position of our good area, click here on this button to go to the out point. Okay, simple enough. Now to add an in point, one way is to place the CTI at your desired in point and then click this reveal menu to choose mark in, or you could use I as a shortcut. And then now, consequently, the grey area is our desired good section. You can click in the middle of the grey area and move this range to a different position. And this is useful if we want to set a 3-second range, for example, and we want to slot this 3-second range into our sequence somewhere. Anyway, once you're happy with the selection, to quickly transfer this edited, selected area to the timeline, click this button. Bearing in mind, there's no need to panic. This doesn't destructively or permanently edit our clip. We can go back and change this. Okay, so once we have clicked on that button, well, there it is now on our timeline, just that ranged area. Let me just undo that. I'll go to edit and hit undo. Now, if I only want the video component without the audio, maybe the audio is poorly recorded, Well, all I need to do is click and drag this button, the video only button. So manually click and drag down onto the timeline, and there we see just the video part. I'll hit edit and undo once more. We can do the same thing if we want to remove the video and just bring in the audio. So with this adjacent audio only button, that now brings in just the audio. Once more, I'll edit and undo. Okay. Now another button here is this wrench button. If you select it, you'll see various options to add in. Now just off our screen, at this screen resolution, is the Safe Area Overlay option. I'm going to select it, and then now you see in the source monitor these dual rectangular areas that overlay the source monitor. These are just safe area guides. I'll say more about this as we progress. If you don't want to see that, then just repeat the process, but then removing it this time. Okay, now finally getting back to what I mentioned a moment ago. Here you'll see the length of our selected range is just over 4 seconds. I could drag this and make it 3 seconds if I prefer. And then now, within a progressing project, if I've got a 3-second range that I want to fill, then it would be very easy using the source monitor in this way to determine a 3-second range and then dragging it down into our project. Right, I'm going to finish up now that we've had a good look around the source monitor.